I gave people all the stuff they really needed. Social security checks, utility bills, TV guide.
I want a TV guidance counselor. TV guidance counselor. Staying up to watch all night, and everything's gonna be alright with my TV guidance counselor.
Hey everybody, welcome to TV Guidance Counselor. I'm Ken Reed, as always, your TV Guidance Counselor. This is the show where each and every week we talk about classic television using the back issue of TV Guide magazine from my personal collection as the inspiration for our conversation. I was kind of trying to see how fast I could do that. Was that annoying? I could probably do it faster, but I don't think I want to. Anyway, it's April, everybody. We made it through 3 whole months this year. I feel like it is important to pat ourselves on the back for every single month we make it through this year. And 3 is good. That's the first quarter. So we have 2/3 of the year to go. 9 more months to do this. So if you got pregnant or impregnated someone today, that baby would likely be born at the end of the year. I don't know if that math's right. And I don't want to think about that too much because that's a really weird statement I just made. But that's where my brain's at right now. Anyway, my guest this week, very interesting guy. He is in the punk rock band Bandages. They are out of the Midwest, Ohio. Oh, that's not the Midwest, though, is it? No, I don't know anything past New England. He's from not New England. He's in a punk rock band. They're very good. They're called Bandages. Their last album is out now. Not their last album. They'll do more, but their most recent album features Joe Gittleman of the Mighty Mighty Bosstones on there as well. Good record. I highly recommend you check it out and stream it. But we had a nice chat over and above music. So please relax, sit back. I did that in the reverse order. Relax, sit back, and enjoy this week's episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, Andrew Chenault.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
Live via satellite from, I'm going to say sunny Ohio, but I don't know if that's true. Andrew Chenault, how are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. You're Central Time, right, Ohio?
We are Eastern.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to have besmirched you with the Central Time badge.
It's quite all right. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're close. We're close enough.
Yeah, I pretty much anything west of Worcester, Mass, I'm like Central Time. Until I get to California, and then I'm like Pacific.
It doesn't change until you get like over halfway through Indiana, really.
Okay.
Like closer towards Illinois is when it really kind of changes over. But yeah, I'm around Dayton area, Dayton, Ohio,
Okay. All right.
Nothing too crazy around here, nothing too it's gray and cold and
Is that where you
nothing.
grew up?
I've been here my whole life. Yeah, I grew up in a little town in between Cincinnati and Dayton called Springboro, and just right in the heart of the Miami Valley. Hills and nothing as far as the eye can see.
What is Dayton like best known for?
I like to say Brainiac,
Okay.
the band Brainiac,
Yep.
and obviously Kim and Kelly Deal.
Oh, yes, the Deals. Yep, that makes
Yep.
sense.
So the Breeders, near and dear to our hearts here in Dayton. Same goes for Guided by Voices.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of music, funk was, a lot of funk was born here. We're proud of that as well. The band Heatwave, the song
yeah.
Boogie Nights.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're from Dayton. And then we've got Bootsy Collins down in Cincy. So
Bootsy's dangerous because he's one of those people that if you do an impression of his voice, it's easy to get stuck that way.
yeah. Oh yeah. And it's just so unmistakable too. Like
It's Bootsy,
I loved
baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I loved Buckethead, back when I was younger and I always loved hearing him, add his little touch to those songs. It was always hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite lines was like, uh, I'm not afraid to die, baby. I just don't want to be there when it happens.
In that way where it's like rushed but cool at the same time.
But
It's a very
so
unique
smooth.
delivery. Yeah.
So smooth.
Very few people are able to pull that off. So we were just chit-chatting a little before we started here, and you were saying you did, and I thank you for this, you did a little bit of a deep dive on the show and listened to a few episodes, but like 3 people from 3 of your favorite shows have been on the show?
Oh yeah, well, more than three. Probably my all-time favorite show is one of your all-time favorite shows, The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
It's the best.
It's been one of my top, and still has been, ever since I first saw it back in what 93 was when the show.
That's when the half-hour show started. Yeah, the regular
Right, but
first season. Yeah.
and then of course I loved the promos as well, and just the off the wall kind of weird tone to it all. And I loved that. I always loved that everything was just very, everything was kind of set and fall.
Yeah. It's an
That whole
October country.
tone, yeah, like that's my favorite time of year. As most people I find who live in this area.
Most people worth anything, at least.
Right, right, right. People with taste.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah,
but
Pete's
yes,
amazing.
I love the episode you did with Will.
Oh, that
And
was one of my favorites. Like his
yeah.
philosophy of funny, strange, sad, and beautiful.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
he's
everything should be that.
I mean, just the whole tone of that show just stuck with me, and
Yeah.
the music especially. I love Mark Mulcahy's work. I love Miracle Legion. I love the Magnet Fields, Apples in Stereo, like all these bands that I discovered even that young, because I was born in 85, so I was still relatively
Oh
really
yeah.
little when that show first started. But even back when I was that young, even like 6, I remember, I would remember things that I liked. I even watched, my parents let me watch Saturday Night Live when I was like,
Same.
that young. And I remember it. I remember, musical guests. I remember sketches. I remember everything.
Well, especially stuff like that where you feel like, because this is sort of lost on people who've grown up in the time shifting age, but
Hmm.
when you're allowed to watch sort of a forbidden show, not necessarily because of content, but just because of like the inaccessibility of staying up that late, a bit like the Nightcrawlers episode of Pete and Pete,
Oh yeah,
seeing Saturday Night Live or something like that, you sort of at that age and of our generation, you're going to take that all in because you don't know if you'll ever get to see that again. And it's like a
exactly.
special occasion. So it really it really imprints itself.
Yeah. I mean, it's personal. Yeah. It's, that show felt like it was mine, because it wasn't something that everybody was talking about. And, when I was in school, everybody was watching, and I was still watching all the shows that everybody was into, but like I loved my like off the wall, offbeat kind of weird shoes.
What was that thing that if you ran into somebody who had seen them and liked them, you were instantly friends?
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you were like, oh, you've seen that? We're friends now. I don't know anything
We're
about
friends.
you, but I know that we're friends.
Yeah. And I have had the pleasure of I got to play shows with Danny's band Jounce.
Hmm.
I've got to hang out with him and Mike when they did the podcast shows. I went to the reunion show in Chicago with Will, and got to wear an original Tasty helmet.
Nice. Oh, nice. I got somewhere.
It's
There's my Tasty. I got my Mr. Tasty, like it's like a bobblehead.
yeah. I have that. I have that same bobblehead from the Nick box,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep.
Yep.
There is.
Yeah. Um, yeah. It's kind of surreal that after all these years, it's still it's still so good. And I've had friends who didn't have cable growing up or whatever, so it wasn't on their radar. And I show it to them, and of course they go into it like, well, this is a kids show, right? And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, it's
This
more than
isn't going to
that.
hold
Like,
up.
yeah, no, it's something different, and they always come away like, wow, that was funny, that was odd, that was, you know what I mean? And
And feels timeless. Like it,
yeah,
I have friends who I don't have any children, which is my gift to the world. But, I have friends who have children and they always feel the need to go out of their way to tell me like, oh, I showed my kids Pete and Pete and they loved it. Like that, like a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old now, watching a 30-year-old show and they're like, this is great.
right. I have two daughters, and I did show them as well, and they really loved it. But it was hard to keep their attention after
One
after so
episode is
long.
at a time is kind of and it's and for me growing up here there was like Juliana Hatfield was in an episode and like there's
Hmm.
some like odd Boston connections. Also, side note, Mark Mulcahy, one of my favorite Miracle Legion songs is oddly about sports, and I don't care, like sports songs are like one of my second songwriting pet peeve behind songs about songs.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if there's ever a song where they're like, that's why I'm singing this song, or that's why I wrote this song, I'm like, I don't care anymore.
I don't. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
But right under that is sports songs, but the song Homer,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
so good, and like that, like you wouldn't even really somehow wouldn't know it was about sports, even though it's like explicitly about sports and he's mentioning Johnny Unitas and stuff, but it just
Right.
has this like such a sad amazing melody line in the chorus. Oh, I love that song.
He's so raw with like his writing. It's unreal. I got the chance to see him back in 2013 outside of Chicago, and just fantastic. And I have uh, he probably still has them on his website, but he used to sell original Miracle Legion promo
The
material.
tapes.
Yeah, well, he had posters too.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah, and I bought like an original Glad poster, tons of stuff, and I still have it. And I took it to that show and had him sign it.
Oh,
And,
that's
and
awesome.
even though he was still currently selling it at that time, he was like, "Oh wow, this is crazy." I'm like, "Well, I bought it from you."
Yeah, yeah. It's gone around a few times. It's back with you.
Yeah.
I went down to. It's actually probably 12 years ago now. Yeah, it was probably 2013. I went down to the Bowery Ballroom in New York in February of 2013, I think, for that first reunion, and it was just nuts. It was like I couldn't
Hmm.
believe it. And they played as the Blowholes with Marshall Crenshaw and Sid
Oh yeah.
Straw. It was fantastic.
I wanted to go to that so bad, but yeah, obviously couldn't make that happen.
Yeah, I missed. I thought I wasn't gonna be able to go because they were only doing one show and it sold out, and then they added the second show, and I'm like, no way, I'm missing this now.
Well, it was awesome for me too because the night before I went to the Polaris show in Chicago at Lincoln Hall, the one that they actually released a live album of, and I had well, I had been at a Jounce show. They came to Dayton the night before that Polaris show, and that was the first time I had met Danny, and it mentioned obviously like, oh well, hey, I'm going to be in Chicago tomorrow, and
Yeah.
so he was like, awesome, come see us, and so we all got to hang out, and it was
What a good dude too, just like a
he's
solid good guy. Like you meet people like that who you kind of feel like you grew up with even though you didn't, and then they turn out to be like as good a dude as you would hoped.
absolutely like genuine, super genuine, like
Yeah.
just a kind guy. Yeah, Mike is one of the funniest
Oh,
dudes.
so dry and a wonderful weirdo. Like in
Yeah,
the best way. In the
yeah,
best possible way, such a weirdo.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolute perfection, that show. What were some of the other shows?
The other was MST3K. I'm a
Oh
huge
yes,
Mr.
yeah.
Science. I'm a huge Riff Tracks fan. So Kevin, and I saw that Joel as well.
Yep.
Um,
Mary Jo's been on, Trace
oh
and
Jesus!
Frank. I've had
Oh
Frank on
Jesus!
twice. Yeah. I think I've had
Uh,
everyone except Mike.
oh, man, Mike would also be hilarious.
Yeah.
I, just another show that's been with me my whole life, and that's my ultimate comfort show. Like if
Oh yeah.
I'm yeah, if I'm having just the worst possible day, throw on the final sacrifice, and all of that goes away. It's all gone. Or Samurai Cop. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like go to sleep show. It's like you
Yeah.
got to throw that on. Oh, you watching the riff track Samurai Cop?
Oh yeah. My wife and I, like, our go-to is I love the Mary Jo and Bridget riffs.
Hmm.
And they do the Of the Bride trilogy, which was
Yes.
the Rue McClanahan movies. I genuinely we just love. We'll watch those movies unriffed.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Heck, I own a ton of those movies. Unriffed. I own Miami Connection. I'm a I'm a collector of weird. I love horror. I love
Do you have a
cult. I
subscription to
love.
Vinegar Syndrome?
I've been buying from them since pretty much day one.
Yeah, I figure.
I can't do the subscription because that would just I'd probably get killed.
Yeah. I end up buying the stuff anyway, but just not doing it from the subscription because you tell yourself, well, I won't
Well,
buy
yep.
all of it.
Yep. Like I have pretty anything Cynthia Rothrock bought.
Yep.
It's purchased. I don't care. Yeah. So Mystery Science, obviously, and then the third is another one of my just all-time favorite shows, Peppermint from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Peppermint's great.
I love Drag Race so much. It's ridiculous.
And I've had Cynthia Rothrock's done the show as well.
Oh, no. See, I need to go even deeper then because I didn't see that one, and I will have to listen to that.
Yeah, that's super. She's the nicest. And I went to her house and we recorded it, I think in 2015, actually. And yeah, I knew her I used to do martial arts as a kid and had done some like exhibitions with her.
That's awesome.
So I was like, hey, remember? And she was like, oh, yeah, which was just crazy.
That's crazy.
Just nuts. And she had some fantastic stories about working in Hong Kong in the 80s where it just, there's no rules and everyone's insane.
Oh yeah, well, like, wasn't there was one where she like tore her like ACL,
Oh, yeah.
just didn't tell anybody and never got surgery on it.
Nope.
Like, that's insane.
Kept doing the fights and just kept going.
Yeah. And her legs are so strong that like they're fine.
She was fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the Cynthia Rothrock riff tracks connection of Santa's Summer Home.
Oh yeah, another go-to episode here at the Chenault home. Yeah.
Yep. Any of Dave Dakota's non-gay pornography films
Yep.
are always a good time.
But you recognize the house though.
Yep. One of my favorite things was looking at Dave Dakota's full filmography on IMDb, and you'll see stuff like it'll be like a talking cat, and then the next movie's called Boys Just Want to Have Sex.
Yep. I've done that as well.
It's pretty great.
You'll forget some of them, and then you'll run through it again. And you're like, oh Jesus.
Yep. Classics.
But hey, more power to him.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
He's got a thing going. He's figured it out, and
Exactly.
seems very happy.
That's incredible. Like,
yeah.
Because he's probably still working.
Oh yeah, he makes a lot of Lifetime movies now.
That's the ticket right there.
Yeah, because I had Rolf Konevsky on, who did There's Nothing Out There, if you recall that movie.
No.
It was big in Fangoria in the late 80s. It was, and then when Scream came out, it kind of got a resurgence because a lot of people were like, Scream ripped this movie off. Because there's like a fourth wall breaking guy who works in a video store and understands how horror movies work, and he's in the horror movie.
What's this? How have I never seen this?
Actually, I think Vinegar Syndrome put out a Blu-ray of it fairly recently, like in the last year or two. But you would love it. Yeah, put that on the list to watch. But Ralph is friends with Dakota, and Dakota kind of got him in at Lifetime. And I don't know if you've tuned into Lifetime movies in the last couple of years, but they're literally all slasher movies now.
That's amazing.
They're all about like a crazy pool boy or like a crazy teacher, and they're literally called like Crazy Teacher or something. And they're just like full on like slasher movies. Like maybe if you take like Hand That Rocks the Cradle as sort of the the template of that kind of slasher movie, it's like that, all of them. Very strange.
That's crazy.
But the issue here you picked, so we get July 12th to the 18th, 1997. So you picked a rare pick of a summer issue, which I commend you for, because we're usually in reruns, but there's usually some weird stuff going on in the summer. And
Right.
97, so it sounds like you're 12. I'm 7, just turned 17. And it's always, summer TV watching is kind of a special thing all on its own because for whatever reason, parents are like, yeah, there's no rules in summer. Just stay and watch whatever you want.
I mean, I'll be honest. The main draw for me was the cover.
Hank
You
Hill.
know, King of the Hill, Daria, just that era of
Yep.
animation.
And Jonathan Katz, Dr. Katz up
Yeah,
with the surfboard there.
Dr. Katz, and then there's a mention of another one of my like building block shows of who I am, Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Oh, I love Space Ghost so much. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is, they're kind of talking about this new wave of animation, which is, it's kind of the fourth or fifth one post Simpsons, where the networks were like, hey, there are adults who like animation. We should try and do something like this. And so this was, you know, we had home movies had started the year after this on UPN. You got The Critic had just sort of ended, but now you got King of the Hill, Futurama, Duckman is on USA Network, Dr. Katz, Daria. So it's this post-liquid television world.
yep. Another home movies is another one of those shows.
So good.
I have Walter and Perry tattooed on my arm there.
Nice.
Actually, next to I have two King of the Hill Twin Peaks mashup tattoos.
Nice. Nice.
So I have Peggy Hill as the log lady, and then I have Boomhauer as Dale Cooper.
Fantastic. Then, unfortunately, just flipping through before we get to the listings, there's a big piece about Donald Trump's second wife, Marla Maples, the second woman he cheated on.
Yep, I saw that, yeah.
But do you know Marla Maples' horror movie connection?
I do not.
She is killed in the opening credits of Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, man.
when the bridge, the ship bridge goes up in the cars, she's in one of those cars screaming. She's like a featured extra.
That's one I have not seen in a long time. I remember I was a big Monster Vision, Joe Bob. I'm a big Joe Bob guy.
Yep, had him on.
Man. you and I, we're very similar, it seems.
Yes, yeah.
I remember watching that on Monster Vision back in the day. I love
those late night shows were the best. Oh, and another fun fact, you know the movie Chud?
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't know movie Chud? Actually, two fun things about that. But in the opening scene where that woman is walking and she gets pulled into the manhole, the pre-credits scene, that woman is Paris Hilton's mother. Who had been acting for a little bit at that time. But the other thing is the guy who wrote Chud, Shep Abbott, is from Gloucester, Mass. And he used to run this sort of punk show space called the Art Space. And it was supposed to be for like, kind of a hippie ideal thing, but they ended up doing a lot of punk shows there. And so the first time our band went and played there, the stamp he gave you when you paid and came in was a Chud stamp. And this was like 1990, probably 1997 actually. And it was like, that's a weird thing. And I was like, oh, you're a Chud fan? He goes, check this out. And he walks me over to this glass case and he's got a Chud. A whole Chud.
Oh my God.
And he goes, yes, I wrote Chud. So
that's incredible.
Like, all right, there you go.
Yeah. I wonder if that Chud is still intact. Probably not.
It probably is. I think he took good care of it. You got to take good care of your Chuds. You don't want to. You don't want to let
Chud out of the.
Yeah,
keep it out of the sunlight.
It's a finite resource, the Chuds, and he was definitely one of those like fuck you hippies. The ones who are like, you guys are fucking us all over and you're going to kill us all, like the sort of angry hippies. Which makes sense given the sort of message of Chud.
That makes complete sense, yeah.
Which is kind of punk rock. Then we have a really disgusting ad for frozen pudding that this looks vile. I like Jell-O. I like chocolate ice cream. What they've done here is an abomination.
And just a hint of some berries in there as well.
Oh, like just the texture of that ice cream is just stomach churning. I don't even know how I would describe it. It's sort of poo-ish because it's, it's chocolate, but it has this like, oh, I don't even know what I would call that. It's like sandy.
No, it's definitely got a poo-like texture.
Yeah. Yeah. It is not appetizing, and they spent a lot of money to make that photo. Then we get Imus in the morning, which I don't know if people remember Imus, but that ridiculous human being. And then a big article about Rob Schneider in the U.S. remake of Men Behaving Badly. And Rob Schneider, I want to point out, one of the few people who asked to be on the show who I told no.
Wow. Well, you made the right decision.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. No, I don't regret that for a single second.
But I will say that little snippet has the first, but not the last mention of the state.
Yes,
Ken Marino.
Ken Marino was playing the other role on the show.
Yeah, and then other members of the state have a little write-up later on, too, I saw.
Viva Variety, I think it just started, yep.
Another show I loved.
Yep, I've had Mike on twice, Michael Ian Black on, and Kevin has done the show.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's very strange. And then there's a bunch of animated shows I totally forgot about. So Cartoon Network has really launched in, I think, about 90 or 91, or maybe 92. But 97, they really started doing their cartoon stuff. So we get Johnny Bravo, we get Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Cow and Chicken. They're sort of not just rerunning things now, where they're sort of finding their own voice, and we get Space Ghost a little later. But South Park started in 97, which I forgot. Daria, Spawn, which is better than the comic. Certainly better than the movie.
It was. No, it was. I was lucky enough to be an HBO kid, so I got to watch Spawn when it was airing, and it was fantastic. Could we circle back to one thing though?
Yeah.
You were talking about the cartoons, the Cartoon Network wave of shows. A lot of those shows actually did premiere on Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Oh, interesting.
Because Space Ghost Coast to Coast started in '94, and a lot of the people who ended up creating Adult Swim, the creators of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, worked on Space Ghost as writers.
Yep.
Dave Willis, but yeah, they had an episode at some point in not early in the show, but like a couple years into it, they had an episode where they did premiere a series of cartoons, and they were all the What a Cartoon shows, and like Powerpuff Girls was in there, and they had those directors on as guests as well on the episode.
I need to dig that up. That's probably floating around online, I bet.
It's got to be out there. If not, it's got to be on. It could be on Max.
Yeah,
I know that's where that's on currently.
Or Archive, or someone has a Plex server that'll have it on there.
I know I have an old hard drive around here somewhere that has every episode on there. Yeah, I need to dig that up.
There's also HBO did Ralph Bakshi's Spicy City, which, as much as I love Ralph Bakshi is terrible. It's really not great. It's basically like someone was like, hey, Cool World, just the animated parts. And people were like, no, the whole thing was not good.
Well, I mean,
It's not great.
He was, his heyday was the 70s, though,
yeah,
right?
Very 70s. And he was really trying to capitalize on the post Ren and Stimpy, that sort of retro 50s kind of like pinup girl vibe with Spicy City, and it just didn't. It looked cool. The animation was cool, but there was just like no story. It was not great. Then we get The Simpsons, obviously. Duckman, which is still, I love Duckman. It's so good.
I also loved Duckman. Yeah.
So good, so weird, funny. And then The Tick, which was airing on Comedy Central at this time. It had been canceled by Fox Kids, so they were airing it every night on Comedy Central. And the Tick animated series is so good.
I don't think I knew that it was on Comedy Central at that point.
This was when Comedy Central was really trying to pick up kind of anything that was short-lived that wouldn't go into regular syndication, presumably because they could get it cheap. If a show is only 13
Right.
episodes, they're like, well, not sell it to anyone, or you guys will buy it for this? Sure. So they were airing a lot of things like that, and they really were like, we're going to show this show every night, even though there's like 20 episodes.
Right. I mean, they did that really well with Kids in the Hall.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
But then they try to do it with shows like Bob and Margaret,
Oh yeah.
or like, just some shows that didn't quite click that way, but we're still fun shows nonetheless. And then I love that this article also has a great write-up about Rocky and Bullwinkle. And it really is, that show is so far ahead of its time and clever, and is 40 years older than all the new shows they're talking about in here, but completely fits in seamlessly.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I love classic
So
cartoons like
funny.
that.
It's
Yeah.
so funny. And it's not there's like a humor that started in mainstream animation in the 90s, where it was the kind of thing where they're like, we want people to go like, and then there's a few jokes in there for the parents, Oh, it's that kind of stuff. Or like where they'll have like a cartoon squirrel spout like some stupid catchphrase, and them like, oh, and then the mouse said, get jiggy with it. And I'm like, no, it's not that. This, in 6 months, you're going to be cringing at this. And they didn't do that. They didn't do that on Rocky and Bullwinkle, which is why it's still funny.
Right.
So then we got a thing in here with like a round table with Ben Edlund, who's been on the show, of The Tick. This is amazing, this article, where it's John Krzyzewski, who is proven to be a scumbag, but still has some interesting insights in this article. And it's sort of a roundtable discussion of animation circa 97. So you have him, you have Ben, who does The Tick, and you have Eric Radomski, who did Spawn and Spicy City, and Gabor Cuspo, who did Duckman and Rugrats. And it's this really well done article conversation about animation that's like just kind of buried in this random issue of TV Guide.
It's kind of interesting too. It's almost like a dinner for five.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I forgot, there's a thing in here about a new sort of ripoff show of Xena and Hercules that Fox rolled out that's set in ancient Ireland, and I have no recollection of this show whatsoever. No. Where is even the name of it? It's called Roar.
Roar.
And the only reason it's notable is because starring in it is Heath Ledger.
Yep, the legend.
So
himself.
Weird. I'm like,
yeah,
I would not expect that at all. And there is no recollection of that. Then we have the producers of Homicide have done a prison life thing that the article, they're talking about Oz on HBO, which was kind of one of the first like pre-Sopranos but post Dream On, Tales from the Crypt, like new HBO quality television shows.
It was definitely one of the first bricks in what, where modern TV, was heading, and where we are now with the way episodic TV is. I think obviously HBO had a huge hand in laying the groundwork for all of that.
And very influenced by the sort of British way of doing it as well, where it's like, we're actually going to tell a story and we know how many episodes we have.
I remember watching Oz. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I remember, it was dark and, it did not hold back. It didn't pull punches at all.
So let's dive into the comfort then here. Saturday night, 8:00. What are you doing?
I saw that the Birdcage is playing on Showtime. I think I would probably go with that, considering that Mystery Science was playing from 6 to 7.
It's
That's
the
not
Mystery
prime time,
Science
so.
hour, where they had cut them into the 1 hour chunks with the Jack Perkins intros.
Right. Yeah. But I also remember it on Saturday morning though too, on Sci-Fi. And then also, was it, WCW. So that would have been Saturday night. That would have been Thunder then?
I think so. Yeah.
Another thing that I loved. I was a huge
Goes hand
mark
in
for
hand
wrestling.
with the Colt Chamber thing.
Oh yeah. Man, I just got called out really hard.
It's true though. Like 97 to 2003 is like the single worst time for graphic design, and a lot of that has to do with new metal and wrestling.
Oh man, but I still, I was still, I was a kid who was into so much different stuff too, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
of course.
I grew up on jazz and metal and all of this stuff and hip hop and the '90s were what a time to be alive.
Yes, it was appropriate at the time.
But yeah, I probably would say I would go with the Birdcage. I love that movie.
This is the television premiere, not network television. It's the cable
Yes,
television premiere. I'm surprised
right.
they only give it 3 stars, which I'm a
Well,
little surprised by.
I don't know if you looked up earlier in the Siskel.
Yes, the Siskel review.
He kind of burned it.
Yeah, I find I don't. I watched a ton of Siskel and Ebert when I was growing up, and I rewatch a lot of it now, and I don't know if I've ever agreed with Siskel on anything. And
Yeah,
his
that's fair.
his classic pattern is he'll complain if a movie isn't horny enough, and then he will proceed to describe how the movie could have been hornier and what he would have done to make the movie hornier. And then Roger's always like, "That's not this movie, Gene. Well, you make that movie. Well, you make that movie." And that's pretty much how most of his reviews go.
Well, and that is why he loved De Palma.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he hated horror films. But
Right.
Body Double, loved it.
Well, I also love De Palma.
Phantom of the
Well,
Paradise is one of my
I,
favorites.
that's what I was about to say. Phantom of the Paradise is one of my all-time favorite movies. I actually have an original one sheet signed by Garrett Graham,
Nice.
and
Thief himself.
oh yeah, and I had the pleasure of meeting Paul Williams not too long ago.
He
So
terrifies me.
it was so intimidating.
Something about him is absolutely terrifying.
He couldn't have been nicer, though.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was such a sweetheart.
I've always heard he's the nicest dude, but for whatever weird
yeah.
reason, I find him terrifying.
Yeah. But getting to tell him, like, hey, you made my favorite soundtrack of all time
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
was, I'm sure he loved that.
Jessica Harper's rendition of Old Souls in that thing. Oh, my God.
Phenomenal.
It's fantastic.
And Garrett, I got to actually, I brought up The Critic, obviously, with him. And,
Yep.
and he, surprisingly enough, has never watched it.
Yeah, he doesn't watch a lot of stuff he's in because he was also in Parker
Yeah.
Lewis and
Yep.
Used Cars. He's so good in. But yeah, actually, he's in Chud too. Bud the Chud.
Bud the Chud, that's correct, yeah. I had him sign my copy of Used Cars as well.
Love that movie.
Classic.
Yeah, it's incredibly funny. That's awesome. So yeah, I think that's a good pick. I'm sort of intrigued by the fact that we have a really weird airing of the short-lived show, the television version of Dangerous Minds,
Oh my Lord.
which people forget was even a thing.
Yeah. Who started that?
I think it was oh my God, why am I forgetting her name? Jean Smart, I think. No, it's Annie Potts.
Oh,
In the Michelle Pfeiffer role, I believe. But really weird to let's make a TV version of Dangerous Minds for no apparent reason. That's a
no reason that no one asked for.
very strange idea. There's also skating was still huge from the Winter Olympics in '94. Like we're still all into it in '97. And there's a summer skating special called Too Hot to Skate.
Oh
with
yeah.
Nancy Kerrigan and Oksana Bayul performing on the boardwalk in Santa Cruz.
The quintessential place people think of when you think of skating.
Yeah, so I'm curious if they were roller skating or if they had an ice rink there, because that would be. I just don't understand how that worked. I'm very confused by the whole thing.
I think that was the year Nancy, because that was probably around the same time she did a cameo on Boy Meets World.
Yep.
She was kind of probably going for a revamp. She had taken that long break.
Grew up a few blocks from where I live now.
That's awesome.
And when I was growing up, kids would go to the skating rink and she would often be practicing, which is very funny.
That's incredible, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was her like second career. She started being more like she was always a legit skater, but you know, it wasn't all about the Tanya Harding incident around 97.
Right.
She was doing a lot more stuff. Sunday, what are you doing?
Sunday, I'm probably going to start off the night with Fox. I think it was Simpsons
Mm-hmm.
started it off at that point, and then King of the Hill. Um, and then after that, it's I want to say I'm going to stick around for X Files. I do love X Files,
97 is not the best year for X
but
Files.
right, yeah. I'm definitely not going. You could go with Silk Stockings, but
That's a little
I'm
late night. It's a little early for Silk Stockings.
But I'm going to say that at 9 o'clock, I'm going to switch over to TMC and watch Lord of Illusions, Clive Barker
Probably the best
classic.
Clive Barker movie, and a shame that we
Oof.
didn't get the whole series. That would have been fantastic as like a Harry D'Amour series.
I gotta say, I'm a Hellraiser man.
The first one I love, but here's my problem:
Oh, here we go.
the they are not demons from hell. They're not. They're
Right,
explicitly not demons in the first movie, which is what makes
right.
it interesting to me. They're just like weird paradimensional perverts, and there's no Judeo-Christian heaven or hell at all. And then all of a sudden in part two, yeah, it is, and I'm like, no, what are
I can
you
understand
doing?
that. I still love it. I love Hellbound. That's actually my wife's like all-time favorite movie.
It's
So,
fun. It's just from like a mythology standpoint, I'm like, you've undermined the original in my eyes.
right. Well, I could say you should probably stop there because it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, well, I've had Paula Marshall on, who's in part three, which was her first movie that she did, and
Right.
her recollections of that are pretty interesting because that movie is complete trash but very entertaining.
It's batshit. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and that guy who runs the nightclub, who looks like an exact cross between Dickie Barrett and Matt Dillon. That it
Oh
just
man.
throws me off. That's a good pick that night. There's also, I totally don't remember this, and it's a little after the purview, so you may not have even looked at it. But on MTV, there's a sitcom with the Sklar brothers. So
I
it's
saw that ad.
Jason
Yeah.
Sklar in a sitcom called Apartment 2F, and I have zero recollection of this. So it's a
Same.
sitcom that also features guest comics and sketches. So there's got to be footage of that. I'm very intrigued to see what that was like because that sounds like it could actually be entertaining or just the worst
Yeah.
thing ever.
I was a big cheap seats guy.
Oh yeah,
So
that was the
yeah.
first thing I remember them doing, and that was probably 5 years after this, right? That was early
Right.
2000.
Yeah.
So, plus MTV doing a sitcom in '97 is kind of insane. Monday, what are you doing?
Well, I mean,
Oh, what were you
they
saying?
had they were trying to test the waters though, because I remember they also didn't they have like a teen drama
They had a
that
few
was
different shows. So they had Dead at 21, with Jack
right.
Noseworthy, which was like a sci-fi kind of fugitive type thing. They had what was it called? Yeah, it was like a sexy college drama that was on after Loveline, and it was called. Oh my God, someone's yelling it right now listening to it. But it had one of the girls from Saved by the Bell, the new class, who was later on Chuck, and I'm going to break my own rule and look it up because hold on one second, because it's like at the tip of my tongue, this show, because people would watch it and it was kind of like, it's MTV, so there's no nudity or anything, but I remember kids would be like, oh yeah, this thing was pretty crazy.
It wasn't Undressed.
I
No.
think it is Undressed because I keep wanting to say Undeclared, but I think it is Undressed. Let me yes, Undressed. And it was like just like college dorm hookup kids. So they had that around this time. Yeah, that was 99. So it was a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, they were trying with the sort of original scripted shows, but I don't remember a sitcom. That's kind of strange. Living in the East Village, like the Sklar twins, means weird people stop by. So it doesn't sound so much like a sitcom as just like a talk show.
Right. Or maybe like a variety kind of
Yeah.
sketch thing. I don't know.
But this is also MTV sort of tapped into that idea that, no networks have new stuff in the summer. But kids watch TV all night in the summer because they don't have school. So we'll do new shows in the summer, which is why they started doing The Real World and Road Rules in the summer. And so this one is Real World Boston starts. And we used to go when they were filming this, and they were filming it in the firehouse from Spencer for Hire is where they were living. And we would throw things at them, including Sean Duffy, who is a complete idiot and is now somehow our Secretary of Interior.
Yes. Along with, Linda McMahon, who knows so much about education.
Yeah, well, her husband was a mobbed up rapist, so that's gonna
Yeah, exactly.
you're
Yeah.
gonna know all about education from that.
Oh, yeah.
Then there's also an interesting thing. I've never heard of this before, but the ad intrigued me. It's called Dead Man's Gun, and it says Twilight Zone meets Gunsmoke, and it's like a supernatural Western on Showtime starring Henry Winkler.
I saw, yeah, that's so weird. That this is another show that never crossed my path. Yeah, I never crossed paths with this show. It seems kind of like maybe like trying to tap into like the Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. kind of vibes, or
But it's not a comedy. So so apparently they say it's similar to Robert Altman's short-lived ABC drama Gun.
okay.
And so this is like an Old West sort of drama, but with a bit of a horror tinge. So like in the second episode, Larry Drake, Dr. Giggles himself,
Oh yeah.
plays an egotistical undertaker who digs grieving widows. And the narrator of the show is Chris Christopherson.
That's
Never heard of it.
wild.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. I've never.
This could be like a forgotten gem or complete garbage.
And we'll probably never see it again.
No, this seems like it'd be hard to see, but now, if anyone can find it, my listeners can. That sounds pretty good. So that is, what is that, Monday or Sunday? Monday.
No, that was
Sunday.
Sunday.
No, Sunday. What do you got going Monday?
Now, I think it's pretty obvious where I'm gonna go on Monday here. I'm gonna switch between WWF and WCW Nitro.
So that's Monday Night Raw and then WCW Nitro.
Oh yeah, that's where I'm heading.
And so you watched both, but was there one you liked above the other?
Well, so at this point, we're getting right into the Attitude Era, the beginnings of the Attitude Era. So I was definitely keeping it on WWF more, but I think this was also around the time period where WCW was going to start to take. They'd already taken over, I think, the ratings at that point.
Yeah. Which is why WWF went more lowbrow.
Right, exactly. Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
But Austin, Shawn Michaels, all of these still considered to be some of the greatest to ever do it. We were seeing all this just happening, and it was incredible. I got to go to a few house shows that year. And still, I can honestly say I still love wrestling. I don't care.
This was when, was it like Hollywood Hogan and stuff at WCW? Was that around this time when he was like doing a heel turn and all that? Yeah.
So I actually looked into what episodes they were. So this was actually the time period in WCW where right before they were going to start pushing Goldberg.
Okay.
So yeah. So the NWO was strong at that point. We were probably getting to the point where like everybody and their brother was starting to join. So it was starting to get like, a little bit oversaturated.
Yep. Sting
and
decides he's the Crow and not the Ultimate Warrior anymore.
Well, Best decision he could have made, though,
True,
at the end of
true.
the day. I mean, that's where a lot of the inspiration, comes from. It's that's what they were doing. They were taking in the things that they loved and then putting it out there. I mean, hell, Austin's persona, some of it came from the do you remember the HBO documentary about the Iceman?
Oh yeah.
The Yeah, that was where he kind of got the stone cold part of it.
It's so I pretty much gave up on wrestling once Doink the Clown arrived.
See, that you're talking, that's the probably the dark period
Yep.
of wrestling, because
Yep.
that was when Vince was just doing stupid gimmicky,
Yep.
wrestlers.
Yokozuna, Hakeem the African Dream,
Yeah, oh yeah,
Big
yeah. But I
Boss
mean,
Man.
if you go back and you start to study like the behind the scenes stuff and like research more about like the territories days
Oh yeah, when he
and
bought up all the weird local
everything,
ones.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so intriguing, to me to learn about all that kind of stuff, and that's what keeps me still hooked today, I guess.
Well, I bring it up too on this show because it parallels a couple different sort of I don't know if I want to call them American cautionary tales or just examples of America ultimately kind of ruining something interesting. But the way McMahon bought up all the territorial leagues and sort of put them all under one umbrella, the same thing actually happened with TV Guide. So
Mhm.
before TV Guide went a national magazine, it was sort of localized in each market. And the Philadelphia version of TV Guide basically McMahoned all the others. And sort of became this one magazine. And it's sort of the same thing that I'm a big soda nerd. I'm a soda
Mhm.
jerk. And but what Coke and Pepsi did, mostly Coke, was they bought all these regional sodas because they wanted the bottling plants, and they also
Right.
bought the formulas for whatever Kickapoo Joy Juice and all these these other weird local sodas that they never intended on using, and they don't. They just own them, but they wanted the plants.
Right. America,
Yeah, just buy up all the regional
just
things of interest and just homogenize them into this one giant thing, and until there's nothing left to buy.
right, yeah. What was it? I think there was like an SNL skit where it's like, or maybe it was like a update where they talk about like how the world is just run by 8 companies. There
Yeah,
are only 8 companies.
yeah. Oh yeah, like
It's
department stores, the May Corporation owns all of them now, which is, mostly they're all under the Macy's banner, but that was 20 or 30 different regional department stores that all just May Corporation now. It's very strange.
right.
Something about it is like sort of psychotic. Wednesday, what are you doing?
Well, I see over on MTV we got Unplugged, but I don't know who it is.
It doesn't say who it is
Right.
here. It
So
could be anyone in 97. I'm just going to say it's LL Cool J.
right. Hopefully it's a rerun of Alice in Chains or Nirvana, but
My friend was at
who
the
knows?
taping of that,
Oh, which one?
the Alice in Chains one.
Oh man, that's
My
incredible.
friend Jim, who's been on the show, but I used to work with him in radio, and the radio station we worked at, before he worked there, he won a trip and tickets to New York to go watch the taping of Alice in Chains Unplugged. So he's in
That's
the crowd. You
incredible.
could see him in a couple of the shots and everything, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah. MTV also, I should mention that it's in this a lot, but it's Beach MTV. So between shows and just like there's blocks of Beach MTV, and that was like a good summertime like home base to just if you were flipping around or things were on commercials, you just go right over to Beach MTV.
And I was probably watching a lot of MTV at this time period. Uh, I'm trying to remember there was a sketch comedy show with Dave Sheridan that
Buzzkill?
was around Buzzkill.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
I
it
loved.
was like a prank show. So Buzzkill was almost like sort of Jackass, but not that extreme.
Right. I remember that. I remember, yeah, I just remember like bits and pieces of MTV in this time period. Uh, sadly enough, this was right around the time where I was, starting to hit the green real hard. So
So there's some blank spots.
there's some blank spots
Yeah.
around there. Yeah,
But
for sure.
if you're gonna watch something in that state of mind, MTV in a Joe's Apartment short is probably
Hey.
the correct thing.
Right? Yeah, that's probably another reason why I love Space Ghost so much.
Yeah, it seems to probably work in that state of mind. It probably makes more sense.
Yeah. Let's say at 9 o'clock, because Unplugged was an hour here. I would jokingly say I'm going to watch Godfather Part 3.
Okay.
But realistically, I'm probably gonna go to Pee-wee's Big Adventure on what is that? Is that
TNT, I think it's on, maybe.
what says, is that Disney? It's Disney.
Oh, it is on Disney. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that movie, it's episodic in the best possible way. You can kind of dip into it at any point in the movie, and it's watchable and amazing. Still funny and weird. Such a great movie.
Oh yeah. It still holds up.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few years back, my wife got me from Cassandra Peterson for my birthday. She got me a postcard from the biker bar, and Cassandra signed it for me from the biker. So I have it hanging on my wall. It's like the best. It's the best. What are they? Satan's Helpers, I think is the thing.
Yeah.
Wings is also on that night, which I love. Wings.
I love Wings.
It's a repeat, but this episode guest stars Chris Elliott.
Classic.
Can't go wrong with that. I mean, it's
underrated.
Oh yeah.
Underrated.
Yeah.
Gem of comedian. Yeah.
Always funny show. Like, again, Roy Biggins, I say this all the time, one of the great weird characters in sitcom history that I can't believe just this sleazy, like unredeemable, not a good dude who looks like Victor Salva is a main character in this sitcom. And hats
it was
off.
just, yeah, I mean, that was a show that was definitely way too far ahead of its time.
Oh yeah, their Halloween episode's also particularly good, especially the one called "The Gift of Life." If you've not seen it, that's a particularly good one. Thursday, what are you doing?
Oh, wait, we got to go to Wednesday.
Oh, did I miss something on Wednesday?
We did miss Wednesday. Wednesday, I'm probably going to start off with some news radio.
Oh yeah.
And I'll probably just stick around for Wings, honestly.
Yeah, you got two. So this is news radio, but this is post death of Phil Hartman. So John Lovitz is in them. Hard to watch. There's a really good one where it's when they would focus on Stephen Root's character more in these in the last season. It worked, but other than that, I was kind of like, ugh. But yeah, good call. Yeah. Good call on that one.
Yeah.
Thursday, what are you doing?
Thursday, well, we'll probably. I'm sure. Wait, Seinfeld was still running.
Yep. This was probably.
But that was at 9.
Yep, and this is reruns because it's summertime.
Because it's summertime, sure. But I'm the kind of guy I would still watch them with, regardless.
Oh yeah.
You're
not tuning into the network television premiere of Michael Moore's only fiction film, Canadian Bacon, the last film John Candy made.
No, actually, I'm probably actually going to go to Barb Wire.
Fair enough.
With Pamela Anderson. Let's be honest here. I was 12, 1997.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably going Barb Wire, actually.
Yeah. That interestingly enough, TV Guide gives both Canadian Bacon and Barb Wire the same exact rating, 2 stars. And speaking of Brian De Palma, they also give his Bonfire of the Vanities, which is also airing at that time, 2 stars. So in the eyes of TV Guide, Canadian Bacon, Barb Wire, and Bonfire of the Vanities, all equally good movies.
Equally, I was going to say, level playing field there.
Yep. My God.
Well, I don't know though. 9 o'clock though. We got Pet Sematary. We've got Seinfeld. That is a tough call there.
You also got Krull on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh shit!
Which they also give 2 stars.
Sorry.
In Pet
Deservedly
Cemetery.
so.
Pet Cemetery also 2 stars.
You know, as much as I love that movie, I can understand it.
And just so you don't think they give every movie 2 stars, also airing on the movie channel is Pauly Shore's Jury Duty, and that gets 1 star.
But sadly enough, I probably watched Jury Duty back then and loved it. So
I will say I enjoyed The Son-in-Law, and there were parts of Biodome, but that's as
I loved
far as I go.
I loved Son-in-Law as well.
You get Carla Cugino, like you want. I
Right?
mean, who wouldn't want to watch her in anything? Do you know
Right.
the actual Biosphere 2? Do you know who was behind that?
No.
Steve Bannon.
Oh God.
So if you go back, there is news footage from like 19 whatever it was, 88 or whatever, with interviews with him all about Biosphere 2 and the big it's insane.
It's funny how a lot of these most extreme crazy people, were so left and like-minded until they realized they could, exploit
Oh yeah.
stupidity and make a lot of money.
And they've been at it a while. They're like
Yeah.
whatever weird fringe like cockamamie ridiculous scheme that were dismissed until people were like, "Yeah, that sounds reasonable."
Yeah.
Friday night.
So
Friday night.
Friday night, I'm gonna say at 8 o'clock, just to tie it in with Pete and Pete. We'll go with Kablam.
Kablam was fun.
I loved Action League Now was
Yes.
great.
Oh, totally.
Prometheus and Bob, hilarious. I remember I bought a bootleg back in the day before they were officially released by Shout Factory. I bought a bootleg of Rocco's Modern Life
Oh, nice.
off of eBay, and the angel who put this together put episodes of Prometheus and Bob in between every episode of Rocco,
Nice.
and didn't notate that in the description at all. So when I received it, I was like, "Oh my God, this is a happy accident. I love this. This
Yeah.
is great. This, whoever you are, thank you."
2 for 1. Yeah, there's also, I just realized there's a weird phenomenon in this issue. So we're, middle of July, and for some bizarre reason, the majority of the network reruns this week are Halloween episodes.
Well, you gotta get them ready.
Halloween in
July's the
July. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like
Halloween. July is the perfect time.
Dave's World, this Friday night's Halloween episode. ER was the rerun of the Halloween. There's like a bunch of Halloween episodes that are rerunning. It's very, very strange. But I'm intrigued. There's a few things on this night. We have Poltergeist the series.
Which I also don't remember.
It's terrible. It's basically an in-name only. It's about ghost hunters. So it's kind of about like, the Warrens, but not painting them as the complete shysters that they were. And it was on for like 3 seasons, which is kind of insane.
Wow. Yeah.
I think it was syndicated. And then Sci-Fi Channel is showing Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge, which is probably the best of the Puppet Master sequels.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'll go with that.
Yeah, I
Sure.
think that's not a controversial statement.
Not the one with Greg Sestero though. I mean,
Which one is that one?
that was they did a riff tracks of it. It was
Isn't that Retro Puppet Master?
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Greg Sestero's in there.
Those are like the second phase. Those are like the post the post Evil Bong Ginger Dead Man full moon pictures, and I kind of tend to not really recognize those.
Hey, but once again, he's doing it himself, and he's you got to respect that.
I was offered a role to be killed in Ginger Dead Man 2, but I would have had to have paid my own way, and that did not seem worth it.
No. I would agree with that one.
Yeah.
Definitely not worth it.
No.
I think. What do I see here? I see lots of Boy Meets World playing.
Yep.
And I see it's the episode with Brittany Powell, who was in as an Ohioan, one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies, the rollerblading classic Airborne.
Jack
with
Black's
Jack Black.
film debut,
Yep.
Airborne.
Yeah, dude. Chill, brah. Did he just call you a piece of underwear? Come on, that's classic.
Yeah, that is that is
I
the Gleaming the Cube of rollerblading movies.
that's the perfect analogy. Well, it is kind of cool though when they're doing the Devil's Backbone race, and you
Sure,
can actually point out and be like, "Oh, I know that area. Yeah,
I've been there.
that's
We're proud of it.
as a kid, it's like, hey, Cincinnati." Um,
There's the Showtime is premiering Striptease, which, given the sort of resurgence of Demi Moore, and speaking of Charles Band, he had an affair with her when she made Parasite. And Demi Moore, fun fact, the film I Spit on Your Grave.
yes,
The famous movie poster with the woman from behind.
that is her.
That's Demi Moore.
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah.
Super weird.
Incredibly weird. Uh, oh man, I just lost my train of thought there for a
I
second.
interrupted you, sorry. We
Um,
were talking Airborne,
no,
Boy Meets World.
no. I was actually going to segue off of what you just said, and because you had mentioned before, you mentioned Demi Moore, and now I lost it, so it's gone.
It's all right. It'll come back. We're talking Gleam in the Cube. But Striptease is premiering on Showtime, and
That was it.
this sort of killed her career because she infamously, and they talk about this in the little article. Also, they give Striptease 2 stars, by the way. But she, her own daughter plays her daughter in it, Rumor Willis, which is hilarious. But she got paid $12.5 million to be in this movie. And the movie only made $33 million.
Jesus.
So
Wow.
it was this huge bomb. And she kind of was like, all right, I'm done for
Yeah.
about 20 years after this.
Right.
I've never seen it. Burt Reynolds is supposed to be entertaining in it, but something about it seems kind of gross,
Right. It's kind of like Showgirls, but
not fun.
not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like not weird enough to be hilarious. No dolphin sex scenes or anything.
Right. No Kyle MacLachlan.
No.
Already a
Yeah.
already a loss.
Yeah. It doesn't seem great. My God.
I remember when that came out on VHS. I was probably like 10, and my mom. We were out at the video store, and my mom was like, "What do you want to rent?" Of course, I was a big Saved by the Bell fan. I was
Right.
like, I want to see. I straight up, I was like, I want to see Jesse Spano Nick. I want Showgirls.
course.
My mom was like, no, no. And I'm like, come on, I really want to watch it. She goes, my mom was really cool about letting me watch. I got to watch horror. I got to watch, a lot of stuff, and she didn't try to censor a lot of stuff from me.
Mhm.
But that one, she was like, I don't
She did you a
know.
favor.
We're not going to do it.
She did you a favor.
But she relented. She was like, I'm going to sit and watch it with you.
Oh boy, that's awkward.
Yeah, awkward, super awkward.
Talk about
And
scared straight.
right. So we watched the movie, and then afterwards she goes, okay, what did you think? And I looked at her, and I swear to God, I was like, that was awful.
She taught you
And
how to be a discerning. Now, if you were Gene Siskel, you would have said that was perfectly horny enough.
Yes, but that was exactly what she was trying to do. She didn't want to watch it because she knew it was bad. She didn't, she wasn't trying to shield me from the content. She was just like, this is awful. I don't want to watch
She was
this.
teaching you a lesson about what to spend your hard-earned money on.
Exactly. Yes.
And Showgirls taught many of us that lesson.
But hey, who's laughing now? Because I have the Vinegar Syndrome release that's
Yes.
out of print and goes for a pretty penny online now.
Yep.
So
You've made your investment back. Well, that is the
Exactly.
week. And as you know, TV Guide is not just informative. It has opinions and it cheers and it jeers. So I would like to read you the cheers and jeers of this week, July 12th, 1997, and see if you agree or disagree. It's a jeer heavy week. For whatever reason, TV Guide, so Cheers and Jeers is unsigned, so they get super bitchy. But for some reason in the summer, they get particularly negative, usually. So
it's too hot.
It's
Yeah.
too hot. So they only got one cheer. But we start with Jeers to dissonant music videos. Sheryl Crow's new clip, A Change Would Do You Good, may be in MTV's heavy rotation, but to us it simply spins out of control. The video introduces a raft of characters: a taxi driver, a doctor, an office worker, a pregnant housewife, a garage band singer, many of them played by TV actors: Andy Dick of News Radio, Molly Shannon of Saturday Night Live, and Ellen DeGeneres. As Crow perches up in the sky, sprinkling fairy dust on the characters, they all begin to swap places. But this merry-go-round leads nowhere and makes no sense. Meanwhile, the characters are shouting snatches of dialogue, jabbering on the phone and shrieking in pain, blotting out the tune and the lyrics. A music video should enhance the song, not obscure it. That's a weird thing to be mad about.
That's right. Yeah, that's what, like, of all things. But at the same time, I mean, out of all the Sheryl Crow videos, I don't remember that one.
I don't either. I have vivid memories of Strong Enough.
Right? But and then, of course, too, out of Andy Dick, Molly Shannon, and Ellen,
only one who's not a garbage person is Molly Shannon.
That's exactly where I was going, yeah.
The only one who was in Twin Peaks is not a garbage person.
Yes. Well.
That's how it works.
And I think that was her first on-screen
Twin Peaks?
anything, too. Yeah. I think so.
So she pops up in movies every now and then. She's in, what is the horror? I feel like she's in like Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3 or something like that. Now I need to look it up. She's in a horror movie, pre-Twin Peaks. Let's see. That I was surprised by. Let's see. Watch it be not even a horror movie. Right. But I recently noticed her and she's kind of unrecognizable in it. It's like I Madman or something like that. Let's see. Oh, it's Robert Englund's Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, okay.
That's her first role in 1989. So it's 2 years before Twin Peaks. She's in Phantom of the Opera with Jill Schoelen. Such a weird, and it's like a pretty major role.
Yeah.
Very strange.
That's crazy.
She has a very weird filmography because then she's in Return to Two Moon Junction and she was in Lawnmower Man 2.
With, was that Jeff Fahey?
Fahey was in the first one, but I don't think he came back for the second one.
Oh, no, it was...
it's Max Headroom. It's Matt Frewer.
Yep. Yeah, Matt Frewer, from... Who I loved. Another guilty pleasure movie of mine when I was young was National Lampoon Senior Trip.
Yep. With
mostly
Hawkeye,
mostly because of this. Yeah, with Jeremy Renner, but it was mostly because of the soundtrack, and that was going back to another reason why my mom was really cool. Morphine was on that soundtrack,
Boston
and the
band.
Muffs. Yeah, and that was the first time I'd ever heard Morphine, and my mom and I both, I swear, after the song had finished playing, we both were like, what was that?
Oh, nothing sounded like them.
Yeah. And the next day we had our local record store. It's called Dingleberries. We went to Dingleberries and bought Cure for Pain
on Ryko disc.
And we shared it, and that shows you how cool and good taste my mom had, she knew what was up.
I will say one of the great things about growing up here was at that time, even if you didn't want to, you saw Morphine live.
That's
because they played at the Middle East unannounced or every week. You'd walk in and Morphine would be playing.
Oh my God, that's so incredible.
It was pretty great. Our second jeers to getting carried away with a bit. On a recent morning, Mandy Pantinkin, who's complaining about Mandy Pantinkin, right, serving as co-host of Fox After Breakfast, pretended to be an officious janitor. Carrying a bucket and a plunger, he burst on camera just as singer Pat Benatar was being introduced, and in a brash New York accent kept demanding, "Who are you?" He then dragged her husband and accompanist Neil Giraldo into the loft set's bathroom, barking accusingly over and over, "What are you putting in the toilet?" This sounds funny to me. Even when Benatar started to perform, Pantinkin continued to interrupt loudly, and every time she got to the chorus, he began howling like a moonsick coyote. Pantinkin's antics clearly disconcerted Benatar and left the show's other co-host, Nancy Giles, struggling to restore order. This absurd improv may work in a Eugene Ionesco play, Mandy, but on the morning, it's just obnoxious. There's no way he didn't set that up with Geraldo and
Right.
Pat Benatar, though.
And how is this not? Because this sounds like a Tim and Eric Awesome Show bit. Right
That
here.
sounds amazing.
Like, yeah, like this is how have I? How's this not viral today? Like, how have we not seen this? Somebody, find the footage of this and put it out there because this is incredible.
What are you putting in the toilet is a hilarious thing to ask somebody. And weirdly, so years ago, like 15 years ago, I did like a week of shows with Bob Saget at these big like outdoor like summer shed type venues. And for whatever weird reason, the same schedule was Pat Benatar played the night before us at all the venues, right? And literally in all of the green rooms, there was like a shit in the toilet when we got there. So we started calling her Shat Benatar. So I'm wondering if this was the thing Neil Giraldo was known for, if Patinkin's asking him what he's putting in the toilet.
That's, oh my God. Worlds colliding.
Like,
That's probably
gotten to the bottom of this.
You figured it all out.
Oh, this is wow. Sadly, Mr. Saget, you're no longer with us. You will never get the satisfaction of knowing what this was about.
He would have loved that bit, though.
Yes, he would have. He found it funny at the time. And our only cheer. Cheers to compressed comedy. On Monday nights this summer, Fox has been airing distilled half-hour versions of its sketch comedy Mad TV. You get all the show's twisted humor, from When Babies Attack, a takeoff of those primetime disaster video specials, to a claymation parody of Cops in half the time. Mad TV usually bats about 500. In the condensed format, you get only the winners, none of the duds. Maybe brevity really is the soul of wit. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Cheers.
I mean,
cheers for cutting out half the sketches in Mad TV. That's literally what a backhanded cheer.
Right. Which is also, though, what a cast that show had.
Oh, yeah.
Looking back,
Yeah.
Andrew Daly is probably one of the funniest guys alive.
Phil
Lamar, legend,
Yeah.
voice acting legend. Dude. Michael McDonald.
Yep.
Hilarious. So yeah, there was so many Frank Caliendo,
Yeah.
friggin' there's so many good people on that show. But I always felt like it was very hit or miss for me, because I was like,
I'm an SNL guy.
I was all about, well, in '97, once again, HBO kid, so I fell in love with Mr. Show.
Yeah.
And also, Kids in the Hall. I was starting to get a little bit weirder and darker with my humor.
When you're watching
at that
those, Mad TV is not doing it for you.
No, yeah, but I always remember being like, this cast is fantastic. I really loved the Aries Spears Dolemite sketches, because I love Dolemite.
I don't know if I've ever seen those. Maybe I'll go back and look at those. He's going to put his weight on it.
It's funny is it's not like period. It's not like a parody of Dolemite, because Dolemite in itself
It's already a comedy. Yeah.
yeah. It's a self parody, So they were really just kind of, when I meet people who've never watched Dolemite, because that's one of those things I'm like, you gotta watch Dolemite.
At least Disco Godfather. You gotta see the vintage Disco Godfather.
Yeah. Or Human Tornado.
Sure. Oh no, say it right. Human Tornado.
The human tornado. Yeah. But whenever I try to, like, what's Dolemite? I'm like, well, do you remember the Mad TV Aries Spears sketches? And they're like, yeah, I do. I'm like, that's pretty much what Dolemite movies are like. I mean, it's not far off.
Another riff tracks we enjoy, not Dolemite, but a ripoff, Guy from Harlem.
Guy from Harlem, classic. That is a go-to as
yes.
well.
And finally, our final jeer. Jeers to this is a weird one. Jeers to profuse hero worship. In the week leading up to the national release of Disney's Hercules, Good Morning America did everything but have Charles Gibson and Elizabeth Vargas dress in tunics. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with the show's critic Joel Siegel giving a positive review to a film produced by ABC's parent company, although we've rarely seen Siegel as animated and enthusiastic as he was over Hercules. But GMA went overboard with a lengthy report on the making of this animated feature, as well as individual segments on the film's animation techniques and score, and interviews with the actors who gave voice to the various characters. By Zeus, that's beating the drums with unseemingly zeal. What's next? A report on Hercules, the final credits?
Yeah, that is out of nowhere. Like, why?
It's very... So this person's like, goddamn Sheryl Crow videos and too much Hercules on Good Morning America. What a curmudgeon. That's really...
Right?
I mean, I agree with the complaining about the Disney synergy. That's clearly shilling for their own product, but everything else is a bit weird about that year.
Right.
But what a week.
Heart's in the right place.
It's
though.
true. It's true. They're not asking what's in the toilet. I just want Mandy Pantinkin to go on every show busting in and asking what people are putting in the toilet. I would watch that show every week.
Yeah, he's got to just, no context, just randomly bring that character
What are you
back
putting in the
out.
toilet? That's it. And that's, just gold. Well, thank you so much for doing this. It's been great talking to you. It was nice meeting you.
Absolutely. Yeah, same. Yeah, this was a blast. I was afraid I would ramble on too much.
no.
So hopefully I didn't.
No one rambles on too much when I'm rambling. There you go. That's Andrew. That was also me. Wasn't Andrew doing both voices? Although, I'd like to hear him try. But yeah, buy the new Bandages record or listen to it, stream it. Don't steal it, but do it above board. That's the way to do it. You can steal things, but steal them from very rich people, who deserve it. Yeah. Anyway, I'll be here next week. I hope you will too. We'll have a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor.
Looks like you got some kind of alternate universe in there or something.